We are back on Morning Line. Our guest with us this morning is Sue Fort White. She's with Our Kids, a terrific organization working with child sex abuse. It's nice to have you on. And, you know, just going to the break, and you were doing some research yourself. The question of inappropriate touching, I think most all of us know what clearly would be wrong. Is there an area maybe where there could be some confusion on someone's part? And I'm not trying to make excuses for anyone. I'm just wondering, what is the definition of inappropriate conduct or contact?
Okay, so one definition, this is not the Tennessee statute, but one definition is child sexual abuse occurs when a person involves a child in any type of sexual activity, whether that activity includes touching, exposure, penetrating contact, pornography, or any activity that is sexual in nature.
Gotcha. Because you know what's interesting? You can argue a rape is the penetration of a cavity on your body. Period. Whatever part of your body. So you could be brushing a child's teeth, and technically under that definition, well, you're penetrating well, I know it's not, but technically...
Stay in the rails, darling.
All right.
Stay in the rails.
Okay, well, I've had that brought up before, and so I want to be real clear about all that.
Okay, so it's normative in our culture and in other cultures to help a child brush their teeth.
Gotcha.
There is no sexual intent.
The sexual intent is what
activity involved in that.
Okay, so that's the bottom line, is getting to know that there was a sexual motive behind it.
So, well, yes, and what I would say is I would direct the viewing and listening audience to ourkidscenter.com, and we have how to talk to children, you know, about these issues. And you know, one of the things that we talk about is, you know, I really feel like that the most important thing is for parents to create an atmosphere in their home where the child feels comfortable coming to them. If anything makes them nervous, uncomfortable, or feeling icky or confused. And that's that whole thing. The other thing is teaching your child refusal skills. If they don't want to hug Uncle Joey, if they don't like that, then the adults need to support the child in saying, you know, she doesn't want to be hugged by Uncle Joey right now. She doesn't want to do that. You know, and I think that teaching children that you can say no to adults is important. It's not enough, because grooming, you know, perpetrators are really, really masterful and manipulative and really, really good at what they do, which is grooming, and it's a very gradual, gradual process.
You know, a classic case of this was the one that was just finally adjudicated involving that teacher in Murray County, the Cummings case, with the girl who disappeared with her. Ultimately, he's been sentenced now. I think he's going to be doing 20 years because, among other things, was the indication that he was taking her across state lines to have sexual contact with her. And she was groomed, and this is a teacher, and there's absolutely no blame for the child.
He's an authority,
it's an authority figure.
The thing is, at Our Kids, I have asked the staff, if the perpetrator is a teacher, a minister, or a coach, when the family leaves, I want you to come into my office and tell me that. And it almost never happens. I mean, I'm telling you.
Wait, what do you mean? Like if they're...
Well, you know, because it's usually the mom's boyfriend, the stepfather, the uncle, the older cousin, the grandfather, the bio dad. So, you know, the really high profile cases are frequently the coach, you know, that kind of thing.
But more often than not, it's going to be a family member.
Yeah.
Almost always.
And that's why, but I did want to respond to something that you said during the break, how, you know, that people are much more almost hyper vigilant to make sure that nothing's misconstrued with the child. And part of the movement right now is getting daycares, the soccer league, all, you know, Sunday, religious schools, you know, everybody, daycares, to have more robust policies in place to protect children. So that's like making sure that everything is observable, making sure there is more than one adult, you know, always with a child. You know, background checks. I mean, a lot of training about, you know, child sexual abuse and all of that. So that's good.
I remember that the Scouts do that. I remember at one point my son and another one of the scouts wanted to go down and fish on a camping trip or something like that, and it was made very clear that of course they're to be accompanied, but not by one adult, but by two. And at first it caught me off guard. I said, oh, wait, two, and I go, it makes perfect sense.
Right.
That's exactly what you need to do. But it's an extra effort to think about that, and some people maybe don't.
And the other thing that I think is really important, and we also, What If I Told You also links to Darkness to Light, and they have a training called Stewards of Children. And in that training they talk about helping parents feel more brave about asking if your child's going to go to somebody's house, a friend's house, to spend the night. Are there guns there? What kind of supervision
how do you
is
do
there?
That? We went through that. You probably went through that with your kids. What do? You try to get to know the parents a bit of your friends.
No, you need to.
Am I going and taking a tour of their house? I mean, we didn't do that.
Go ahead and own the fact that you are, call me crazy. That's fine. Call me neurotic, but I want to know: are there older children in the house with my little ones, with your guys? What kind of supervision do they
will be
have?
there.
And all the internet stuff. Do they have? I mean, is there going to be supervision with screen time? What kinds of limits do you set on the computer use in your home and all of that?
See, that's interesting. So what would you say that the teaching is? I mean, you go ahead and make that call, and you're hopeful that if someone called me knowing that their child was coming to stay with my son that night for a sleepover or something, I'd completely appreciate and understand it and answer all their questions. So I guess if you call someone and they're sketchy about it, you should be concerned.
Well, maybe, yeah. And the other thing is, we have to change the culture in this country. We have to have the courage, to be more bold and just to say, look, this is a concern of mine. Child sexual abuse is epidemic. It's, if anything else, if child obesity, if heart murmurs, if pediatric anything were this high, people would be freaking out.
Okay, and the thing that gets me, and we've talked about this for years, Sue, what is it? It is epidemic. And for the life of me, as normal adult human beings, I can't fathom some of these acts. What the heck is driving it? What is wrong? And I'm sorry, the vast majority of the perpetrators are guys, okay? So guys are sickos. So what the heck is driving it?
There's so many good men out there.
I know,
guys
but what drives it?
Okay, well,
What drives it? It's epidemic. Where does this come from? Who on earth thinks this way?
I think that there's, if there were just one profile of the child sexual abuse perpetrator, it would be so much easier. The problem is there's not. There's just not there's just not a profile. And I'll tell you that something else that's going on. Rob Kerrigan, who is with Cyber Crimes Against Children unit with the Metro Police Department, he is just one of our favorite people. He came in years ago, probably 4, to train us about some of the apps that are out there and what they're seeing in terms of the cyber crimes against children. And so we got trained, the staff got trained, then I wanted the board to get trained, and then we created Keeping Kids Safe Online, and that's at ourkidscenter.com too. And it's really telling parents, benign neglect, you can't give your child a smartphone and just with no strings attached, with no supervision, with no guidelines, with no rules. Because what we were seeing in our medical practice was that children, pre-adolescents and young adolescents, were being lured into terrible situations through apps on their phones. Okay. And they thought that they were hooking up with, a 14-year-old, and it turned out to be, a 31-year-old.
And they had no way of knowing.
And it's like deer in the headlights. And the other thing is, what Rob says is that a lot of people who collect pornography and share pornography and also who perpetrate child sexual abuse, one of them said to him, if it's not taboo, it's not worth doing. And that's just so disturbing. That's disturbing.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, we'll take a break on that note. When we come back, our final segment, we'll wrap up the conversation, talk more about the event coming up later in February.
And the swag I give you.
And the swag. I'm always looking forward to it. We'll be right back with more right after this. Stay with us.